So good day class. So today we're going to discuss our building technological lecture about carpentry joints. So this is a slide prepared by architects of Tamhane. So carpentry joints are joints between two wooden pieces. So some wood joints employ fasteners, bindings, or adhesives, while others use only wood elements. So the characteristics of wooden joints, strength, flexibility, toughness, appearance, derive from the properties of the joining materials and from how they are used in joints. Okay. So carpentry joints class is one of the oldest methods in building construction. I think you are aware in your history of architecture that Chinese and Japanese construction, they don't use nails. Okay, so just use jointing techniques. So these are the traditional timber joints. So remember this here. This is the first part A. This is the B. These are the non-traditional timber joints here. Okay. So these are the types of joints. You have lengthening joint, widening joint, bearing joint, framing joint, angle or corner joint, and oblique shoulder joint. So a lengthening joint, okay, it's a lap joint. So used extensively in construction and cabinetry for framing. So quick and easy to make and provide reasonable strength through good gluing surface. So they may be reinforced with dowels or mechanical fasteners to resist twisting. So this is the example here, class. Then you have a fishing joint. It's a type of lengthening joint. Which wooden or iron fish plates are placed on opposite sides, on opposite faces, and secured by passing a bolt through them, just like this one. So this is a bolt. So ends of the fish plates are slightly bent and pressed into the member. Then you have what you call the scarf joint. So this is a sample of the picture here. So projection are made in the end of the piece and corresponding depressions are formed in the other piece. So the two pieces are then secured together by metal straps, bolts, fish plates, and teeth. Then we have a table joint here. So for members subjected to both tension as well as compression. So when you say tension class, so it's like pulling two things together. Okay, and then compression, like that. Okay. This is an example of a table joint here. Then you have widening joint. So you have a butt joint. So end are buttoned together, usually glued or nailed together. So it's the weakest joint. So example of this is like this. This is a butt joint. We have a dovetail joint. So dovetail shaped key to fit in corresponding grooves. So if this is a groove here, class, so in order to fasten them together, you're going to fit in a key. So I think this is similar to the Japanese construction techniques. Then you have most common tongue and groove. So a joint method of fitting similar objects together edge to edge. Used mainly with wood flooring, parquetry paneling, and similar constructions. So tongue and groove joints allow two flat pieces to be joined strongly together to make a single flat surface. Okay, so this is an example, guys. Then you have a bearing joint. This is a dovetail joint. Okay, so you can see here it's like a tail of a dove. So they form a box joint where the fingers are locked together by diagonal cuts. So the sides of each half of the joint are cut at an angle of about 30 degrees so that when the joint is assembled, the separate pieces are locked together. So it's stronger than lap or butt joint. Then you have a bearing joint. Okay, this is quite interesting. So this is a box joint. So the strength of a finger joint comes from long range contact between the fingers, which provides a solid gluing surface. So number of contact points also allows for more gluing surface as opposed to a butt joint. So the joint is made by cutting a set of complementary rectangular cuts in two pieces of wood, which are then glued together. So to visualize a butt joint, simply interlock the fingers of your hands at a 90-degree angle. So it's like this. Okay. Example is here a mortise and tenon joint. So this is another type of bearing joint. So the mortise and tenon joint is simple and strong. So the tenon is formed at the end of a member, generally referred to as a rail, and inserted into a square or rectangular hole cut into the corresponding member. So this is an example. Thus, you can see here, this is a projection here. This is a depression. This is just going to place it together. So this is a mortise and tenon joint. Then you have a bearing joint. So it's a half joint. So it's angle half, bevel half, dovetail half, longitudinal half, and T half. So this is an example here. So this one is the angle half joint. The bevel half is a dovetail half joint here. It's a longitudinal half, and this is a T half joint. Then you also have what you call a notch joint. So here is an example of a single notch. This is an example of a double notch. So if you can see here, at the single notch, you only cut this portion here, and connect. And the double notch, you make a cutting for both pieces of wood. Then you have what you call an oblique joint. So it is used in roof construction. A V-shaped cut in the rafter connects the rafter to the wall plate. Okay, as you can see here. So if this is your rafters, so this one here is your V cut. And you're going to place it on the plate here. And you're going to nail it at these sides. And you have the oblique joint. So used in members to be meet at acute or obtuse angles. Example are timber trusses. So here, this is an oblique here. Okay. And you're going to place a bolt to connect them together. Then you have an angle joint. So used to join corners of frame. So you have the butt joint. You have the groove and tongue. You have the plain mitered and feathered, shoulder house, dovetail house tongue, and groove and mitered. Then you have the carpentry joints. There's an additional method of improvement. So dowels, a small rod is used internal to a joint to both help align on glue up and permanently strengthen the joint. So traditional joints are used with natural timbers as they do not need any other materials other than the timber itself. For example, here, the butt joint. No, it's not a butt. It's a carpentry joint. But still, you're connecting from end to end. But we're going to use this as a connection between the two pieces of wood. This is a double notch joint here. So this joint is commonly provided at the junction of two members at a right angle. Okay. This is another type of joint frequently adopted in framing wood. This is an open tenon and mortise joint. Okay. So I think this is more complicated class than the other joineries. I think the challenge, especially here in the Philippines, is to cut this into the exact dimension so that it would fit together. But I think you could easily do that if you use power tools. You have here a house joint, so adapted in works of heavy nature. So you have here a cutting here, and you're going to place this wood at this uh, location. You have a match beaded joint. So this type of joint is known as widening or side joint. Okay. So this is another type of joinery. So this is used in flooring, paneling, or etc. And you have a key joint. So this type of joint is used in framing, door, windows, partition, etc. Okay, so I think this is the key here. So you place it inside. It has a hole here. So you place it inside, then you're going to lock it by placing a key. Therefore, this is called a key joint. So we have what you call a T joint. So as you can see here, so when you place it together, it forms a letter T. And you have a single notch joint. So this joint is commonly provided at a junction of two members meeting at right angles. Then you have a step joint. So this type of joint is used in flooring, paneling, etc. This is known as the widening or side joint. So you can just imagine, class, how complicated this would, uh, the amount of skill needed to do this type of joineries. You have a tenon and mortise joints. Is this type of joint adapted in woodwork, also used in frameworks. This is an example. Okay. This is a tongue and groove joint here. Oh, this is type of joint as widening joint. The joint used in flooring, paneling also. And you have a called a corner joint. So used where two members are to be framed so as to form a corner. This is what you call an S joint, class. As you can see, it forms a letter S. Okay, so this type of joint is used where the member is subjected from both tension and compression. So I hope that you learned something, class, from our short lecture in the different joineries. I advise you to keep on reading and looking into the different uh, details. I recommend that you research the book by Francis D. Kitching, and then not only don't want you only to research the joineries. I want you to think of creative ways on how to use the joineries, especially when you're doing your cabinetries, when you're doing the connections for your rafters or your wooden designs and construction. Okay, so continue working on your activity, class, and then if you have any further questions or clarifications, you can reach me anytime. Okay, so stay safe and have a nice day.